Greetings, fellow linguophiles. Here I am again speaking about languages. Let's see, today's topic, I'm talking about language learning, alright? And I'm talking about what happens when you're constantly surrounded by language. Take, for example, the Chinese language, alright, Mandarin Chinese. I've got a lot of Mandarin Chinese friends, alright, and sometimes I hang out with them, and I like it when they speak, Chinese, alright? I could go off on a tangent right now, and I think I'm going to do it. It's called code switching. All right, code switching is what happens when they're bilingual people, and take for example Quebec in Canada, right? They speak French and English there, so people are born speaking both languages, and there's certain conditions or certain times when a person will switch from French to English, or English to French, depending on the social situation. All right, and people out there, they study what are the situations when it's better to speak French or it's better to speak English, and it's pretty tough. And I mean, sometimes let's say you're a foreigner and you go in there and you've studied French, but you don't know the proper social norms of when to use French and when to use English. It could be considered rude or impolite or funny or whatever if you use French or English in the wrong situation. It's called code switching. Another place where it's pretty predominant is in the Philippines, because in the Philippines everybody speaks their local Philippine language, whether it be Tagalog, Cebuano, Ilocano, alright, and then everybody speaks English too. And so a lot of the times it's even more like intermixed, the English and Tagalog, because people they'll speak Tagalog sentence and then they'll throw in an English word in there, or they'll be speaking English and just switch to Tagalog back and forth, and there's really you don't really stick to one language and then switch to the other. It's like you have these two languages and they're constantly being, what I mean, words are being picked from different languages. It's pretty complicated. One other spot where I've heard about this coming in would be in Somalia, or no, Djbuti, where they speak Somali, French, and English. And the French, they're the colonial language, right? And I think it's Somali they speak in Djibouti. It just gets the same as like the Philippines, right? You just pick words and you randomly insert French and Djibouti words, and it's almost like you don't have two languages, you have this weird hybrid language. There's an interesting tangent about code switching and language intermixing, but basically my topic is about learning foreign languages, and when you're constantly being surrounded by a language. Example for me, for Chinese, and the thing is, that's a good thing if you know what to do with it. Alright, here's an example. You have an immigrant, like an immigrant from, let's say, southern Thailand. A southern Thailand immigrant comes to the United States, alright, and this immigrant has no experience with English, they don't know a word of English, they know Thai, and they're surrounded by a new culture and a new language, like a shock, right? And so they obviously need to learn. I mean, it would obviously be beneficial if they learned English, but they don't know how to learn languages, and it's just, they don't know. It's just all that, the words are like a buzz, right? It's like wah. You don't know how to perceive that information. And if you don't know how to perceive and you don't want to perceive, you just tone it out. You know what I mean? It's like hearing static in the background. That's a bad thing, and that scares me, because I always want to be able to learn languages. And so the thing is with you have to be able to notice what's being said and make sense out of it. So if you don't try to see what that person's doing and observe the context and be able to listen to the words they're saying, you know what I mean? You're not going to learn, and that's really, really difficult. And you have to have a desire and a need, and you have to be accustomed to the language and hear the individual words and intonation and the consonants and vowels and everything, and make sense out of that. So that's basically what the topic of this video is to be able to notice what's being said, make sense of it, and then use it yourself. And in order to do that, for adults, kids just do it automatically, but for adults, it helps to have a grammar book. You know what I mean? Have a dictionary, and to have someone you can talk to it with in your own native language. And that's why when a lot of immigrants come over, they don't learn English, and they kind of shut off English. They don't have a desire to, because they have no one to speak to it about, with they don't have anybody to speak to about English in their native language. So that's important. One last thing before this video ends is when you learn a new language, for example, if I want to learn Turkish because I want to learn Turkish, it would be helpful if I had, or almost necessary, if I had someone I could talk to about in English about learning Turkish. Stop with this video, language learners. I'll have another video maybe in it, I don't know, maybe tomorrow, maybe not.